Hey everyone, how are we today? Just doing our monthly shadow work reading today. Okay, so celebrating the full moon in Scorpio. So here in Australia, that's the 13th of May. I know elsewhere in the world it is the 12th. But you know we're having a fun one this year with those dates. Okay, so this is commonly known as the flower moon, the full moon in Scorpio. Okay, it is actually all about exploring the depths of your shadows and inner world. So, shadow work reading is definitely appropriate for this particular full moon, as all of them. Releasing old patterns while staying grounded in your values, which is enabling a transformation. There will be emotional challenges that you can turn into wisdom. Through this full moon, it does bring your underlying beliefs into awareness so that you can work on them. Your triggers become your teachers, basically. So any self-limiting beliefs that you do have may pop up to the surface at the moment. You know, the emotional intensity, things that we've been suppressing that you'd rather ignore, habits, expectations, fears, things that are holding you back. It's all coming around to an opportunity to sort of be reborn and purify and renew. Past secrets may come up this full moon, as well as, the desire for isolation, to want to work through things emotionally just by yourself this particular full moon. So it's not going to be one of those full moons where you are wanting to, overly involve others or trauma dump and things like that. Pardon me. It's going to be one where you want to keep it all within and work through it all by yourself, kind of thing. I do apologize for any coughing or sniffling, guys. I do have, allergies coming into winter here in Australia. The weather has been horrible lately, lots of rain and cold and so it has actually been freezing of a night time here lately. So I'm sort of dealing as we deal, with allergies and whatnot. So I do apologize for any coughing or sniffling. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do really appreciate that. It really does help out. So thank you so much. And as always, we will be using the red hand lenormand today. But I do actually, instead of our normal oracle deck, I am actually using this Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. That's a Colette Baron Reed oracle deck that we're going to be using today to sort of give us an overview for everybody here. All right, so as always, the timestamps will be in the description box. And today we're actually going to be starting with Scorpio, being that it is the full moon in Scorpio. Okay, so make sure you check the description box for the timestamp so you can jump through to your sign. Okay, but starting off with Scorpio. Scorpio, full moon in Scorpio. So your energy very prominent at the moment. Scorpio, what does Scorpio need to know in regard to shadow work this month? What does Scorpio need to know for their shadow work message, please? Okay, so we have the High Lord of Gratitude and Service coming through here, Scorpio. So that one says selflessness, humility, and conscious action. Okay, so this is, gratitude and service, showing others that you are thankful, showing others, that you do appreciate the blessings in your life, even if that's just, being awareness, consciously being aware of those things within your own self, putting others first and seeing other people's perspectives and, taking conscious action to, try to think from a selfless point of view and to really think about, the things that you are grateful for, the things that you see as blessings in your life rather than getting caught up in the negative stuff. Okay, that really is going to help move you forward this full moon and help those past patterns come to the surface so that you can work through them in a healthy way for yourself here, Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio, Scorpio. What does Scorpio need to know in regard to shadow work? Shadow work message for Scorpio, please. Okay, so we definitely do see you moving through struggles. Just one more for Scorpio. We're definitely getting a lot of introspection there as well. Definitely one of those signs that, you probably will be looking through to the past quite heavily, things that you've lost in your life. But once again, those triggers are becoming teachers for you. So at the bottom of the deck, we do have the mice, which does talk about things that you've lost in the past, things that have been taken from you in the past. But with the gratitude message here and the blessings and, being of service here, it's kind of asking you to look at those things in the past that you have lost or that have been taken from you, and to really be thankful for those things being taken out of your life, because, you wouldn't have moved forward in a certain kind of way. Certain things needed to happen in order for you to be where you are now. And so it's kind of like showing gratitude for that, so that, even though it may have really, really hurt and stressed you out when those things were taken, and when those, when that tension did occur, we have the whip there starting us off today. So, it really enables you to transmute that energy and turn it into, lessons and wisdoms of, if I want to avoid this in the future, from being taken from me, maybe I do need to be more grateful for X, Y, Z, and the opportunity that this gave me to learn this and how to deal with this. Okay, so we do see the rider coming off the back of that whip there as well. So it definitely shows us that we're moving away from trouble and tension. And, a lot of you here, this is self-punishment as well, kind of playing the victim to yourself, and very focused in, oh, this happened to me, this happened to me. No, it didn't happen to, well, it did happen to you, Scorpio, but it also happened for you. Okay, so learning the lessons of even those things that were really, really hard, and it's, you don't need to punish yourself, and you don't need to continue to be in conflict about those things, or just feel that those things were trouble, drama, fights. That this is actually, happening for a reason, to actually enable you to move forward and push past that stuff, and really start to, learn more about yourself and focus on yourself. We have your own card here, the snake energy. So I do feel as though this is, it's enabling you to, see where you have sort of betrayed yourself by allowing self-deceptions to, cause even more conflict. That oh, this was taken from me, but it's enabling you to see that that's kind of a deception for you here, that this actually happened for you so that you could put yourself into better places from there on out, and to learn the lesson that has sort of brought into your life there. We do see the cat here as well, so it does show us that, this is probably going to be a kind of isolating, independent time for you as well through this full moon, where you are probably going to really want to take some time to yourself to work through these things, and not really involving anyone else in talking about these things. You're just sort of working through it in your own time, in your own speed here. Shows us, though, that you do have the desire for affection underneath it all, the desire for, especially physical affection coming through off the back of that snake energy there. So we're moving away from, everything's just trouble, moving towards where, hang on, well, maybe this is enabling me to move forward in a new kind of a way, when it comes to physical affection for myself, and for receiving that from others around me. Because the cat energy is very independent, very, if someone approaches the cat, it will run away. But if you allow the cat to come to you, they can be super affectionate and loving. So I kind of feel like that's your energy there, Scorpio, where you're needing to sort of see, and make those conscious action choices as well to, show gratitude towards the things in your life that are showing you that physical affection. For a lot of you, this is people. Okay, so having a little bit of selflessness and humility, and being very grateful and blessed for the physical affection that you do have, or available to you, whether you're taking advantage of that or not, or whether you're running away, or whether you're curling up and purring. It's giving you that opportunity to see that and bring that into your awareness a little bit more, move towards that a little bit more, and allow yourself that affection, and whether that be family, friends, even just random strangers. Sometimes we do have those weird little moments of certain types of affection coming from random strangers, so it's enabling you to move forward in a more kind of positive way, and transmute the way that you perceive affection. Because I do feel for a lot of you that they're with the deception, the illusion that you've created about around trouble. You're kind of, in the past, you've been like, any kind of affection is going to just lead to the loss, but we're now moving towards, hang on, well, no, it's not always like that. Sometimes there is sort of a blessing in that, under it all. So moving forward in a really nice kind of way there. It does feel like it will be a bit of an emotional full moon for you, Scorpio, but definitely someone who will be sort of isolating and taking that on board in the way that you need to for yourself. Okay. But that's what we have for you. More than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to our Sagittarians. Okay, Sagittarius. What's going on for Sagittarius? What does Sagittarius need to know in regard to shadow work? Full moon shadow work message for our Saggies. The Desert Prince. Okay, so that's about survival and false promises. All right, so I do feel for you, Sagittarius, this full moon, maybe bringing some secrets out to air, maybe from a long time ago as well. And those secrets do seem to be about, false promises that have been made to you or by you, and it's it's understanding that these things were done out of survival, and it was a it's understanding them on a deeper level. I feel that somebody maybe has made false promises, or you've made false promises, but it's coming from, like, there is a strong connection here to a sense of isolation, and that you felt the need to make these false promises in order to keep yourself separate from others in some kind of a way, or flip it as necessary here. It had to do with survival and isolating yourself through a need to survive situations, and that has enabled you, that has sort of enabled these false promises to be made, even if those false promises are just to yourself, kind of like, oh, this year I am going to put more effort into XYZ, and then you don't. It's kind of like that idea of a New Year's resolution that maybe hasn't been kept, and you're sort of starting to understand these things on a deeper level throughout this full moon, and understand that this was done out of a sense of survival, not out of actual intentions, but we'll have a look here as well. Okay, Sagittarius, shadow work message for our Sagittarius, please. So for some of you, it's clearly letting us know here. We have the cross and then the fish coming through first. So for some of you, these are specifically false promises that have been made in regard to money. All right. So you maybe have promised people that, oh, I'll definitely be able to do that with you. I'm definitely going to do this. I'm definitely going to pay for that, pay for this. I'm definitely going to, and even for yourself, I'm definitely going to, I'm going to, get in control of my online shopping habit, or things like that. I'm really going to focus more on making better, making more money, or spending that more wisely, and things like that, making those sort of false promises to yourself that, oh, this, I'm not going to spend money online, I'm not going to go online shopping, but then you go and do it anyway, that kind of thing. And holding a lot of burden when it comes to those false promises. So it's time to release the burden that comes with that as well, because that's it's kind of like keeping you trapped in that cycle, and you're starting to sort of see that the more that you're holding on to this as a burden, the more that um, that you're continuing that. So it's time to actually really bring it out to the surface and have a look at that issue, but not as a burden or like a responsibility. I need to be more responsible, or it's just sort of more about just having faith in yourself, rather than seeing it as a weight on your shoulders that I have to get in control of XYZ. Seeing it as, what, this is just part of me and part of my path, and accepting it a little bit more here, and then having faith in yourself that, if I really want this to change, I know that I can make this change. It's not a duty, it's not a burden, it's not a responsibility to enforce that to change. It's something that I'm just going to trust myself and know that I can change. It's looking at that side of yourself that struggles, and rather than seeing these things as a burden, as a duty that you hold to yourself, you're starting to see them more in that aspect of, what, it doesn't really, yeah, it might matter, but it doesn't really matter. I have faith that if it does really matter, like, it's changing the expectation on yourself, I suppose, rather than being very hard line punishing yourself over, an inability to do something, realizing that, do you know what, that's how I needed to, I did that because I needed to survive that. I did the online shopping thing because that's a survival mechanism for when I'm feeling XYZ. So making false promises to yourself is creating that burden, and creating that sense of duty, that sense of, it's a very hard energy, very rough on oneself kind of energy. Whereas, if you're seeing it more as, what, I have faith that I can work this through, that I can work this out, and I can actually stop myself from spending before I, like, as soon as I notice I'm starting to, do XYZ, and that's when I normally would go and spend all the money. I'm able to now pull myself up before that, and it's not a duty. It's because I actually want to, and I'm removing that horrible self-pressurizing expectation on myself. I'm understanding that that's a way that I have dealt with things. That's a way that I have been able to survive with, this crazy thing called life. So just using that financial aspect with the online shopping as an example. This could be a few different things for a lot of you, but it's to do with, the way that some of you, it's to do with, the way that you see abundance, and that I should be, I should have that car, I should have the house, I should have the, the wife and the 2.5 kids by now in my life. And you're holding those expectations against yourself in a negative kind of way. Whereas now we're flipping around to sort of say, no, do you know what? I have faith that what I want will come, and what I need will come. I'm going to trust myself a little bit more here that I can do it if I really want to. So we're just changing our perspective slightly as we enter into our next chapter. We have the book coming through here as well. For some of you, this does refer to a need to, educate yourself a little bit more on these things, especially, financial education, how to deal with money. For some of you, it's just a matter of fact that you are just, it's not that you're lacking, but it's just that you're needing just a little bit more knowledge on how to deal with money, on how to, deal with the underlying circumstances that are leading you to spending that money. So just a little bit more education about yourself and learning more about yourself. It really is an opportunity. Those things that trigger you are an opportunity for you to learn here about how to, stop this pattern for yourself, Sagittarius. It's not something you should feel as like, this has to be this hard line I hold against myself. It's something where, no, do you know what? It's an opportunity for me to learn more about how to do this the right way. So really definitely transforming that energy through this full moon for yourself. It does seem to be focused very muchly on the materialistic side of things for you here as well. So, money, the sensation, a feeling of wealth in your life. This is what I should have on a material aspect that I maybe do or don't have, or, those expectations I keep getting for a lot of you there. It's your expectations on yourself that we're looking at in a bit of a different way. All right, so that's what we have for you today. You're more than welcome to check your other placements, of course, and subscribe, and we will move on over to our Capricorns. Pardon? Okay, Capricorn, shadow work message for our Capricorns. What does Capricorn need to know for their shadow work this month? Shadow work message for our Capricorns. What does Capricorn need to know for their shadow work? The hungry ghosts. Okay, obsessions, scarcity consciousness, and attachment. Whoo, rough, Capricorn, rough. Not going to lie, this is a harder energy, especially as a shadow work energy. Things that, set off our obsessions and, the attachment styles that we have to other. It does feel for a lot of you this is connected to people, namely love relationships for a lot of you here as well. I'm just picking that up as majority of the collective. This is, attachment styles when it comes to close relationships. Not necessarily always, romantic love, but with the obsession coming through here as well. Definitely could be for a lot of you. And the scarcity consciousness. So that's very connected to the attachment style stuff. It's like being more aware of the things that you get obsessed with because it's rare. It's feeling like if I don't grab a hold of this, it's going to escape from me. I'm never going to have this opportunity again. So I need to hold on very tightly to this thing. That it's it comes along with a sense of abandonment a little bit here. That if I don't throw myself into this 120%, then it's going to be nothing. It's going to be nothing, and I'm never going to I'm going to miss out. It's kind of that energy of missing out. So we overly attach to things rather than, healthily attaching to things. So that's where the obsession comes into play, because, when you're attaching to something, 120, 150%, we get very, very attached to an ideal, an expectation of how that should be. And then when it doesn't meet that expectation, it feels like, oh, well, then it's nothing. It's that all or nothing energy coming through here. And all is 150%, and then nothing is, like minus 100%. Oh, I'm never going to see that again. It's never going to happen. Capricorn. So it's kind of like the hungry ghosts there. So it's either, it does bring to light that, it's from an older thing than the Scrooge reference, right? But it's the ghosts of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future coming into play here, and they all want a piece of you kind of energy. But it's also the hungry ghosts is in we just want so much. We just want so much. I just want so much. I just want everything. I want all of it. I want everything. Give it to me 150%, and expecting 150% back, because that's how much, you're so you hunger for it. You need it. And then when you're trying to draw 150% from something that's only got 100% to give, or even even if it's you know, in the example of a relationship, yeah, you know, if you're trying to take 150% from the other person, um, because you're giving 150%, you're obsessed with this person, and you're giving out your 150%. Not everyone has 150% to give, Capricorn. Um, you know, this person may only have 70% to give to a relationship. Um, and that's where you only need to meet that with the 30%, yeah? But you're giving 150%, expecting 150% in return. And that's 300%. That's not how relationships work, Capricorn. So, you know, if you're trying to take more than 50%, and expecting more than 50%, we're not equaling out. It's never going to work. So it's kind of, you know, trying to consume more than there is available to you. You know, trying to drink from a cup that's already been emptied. Capricorn, and you do it to yourself as well, Capricorn. Like, it's definitely coming through. You're doing it to yourself as well. That you're constantly demanding 150% from yourself all the time. Where, you know, nobody has 150%. It's 100% is the, you know, the max limit, right? You only get bonus points very sporadically, and that's never 150%. Capricorn, shadow work message for our Capricorns, please. It's like you're doing too much and you're expecting too much, Capricorn. Like, sorry to be so brash, but like I said, it is a very hard energy here. But you're kind of enabling yourself to look at this pattern and look at how this is actually limiting you. Because, you know, if you're expecting and asking for 150%, that's limiting you to the impossible. You know, the impossible is impossible. Capricorn, shadow work message for our Capricorns. And not going to lie, I'm like so guilty of this as well. Definitely reflecting upon the past a lot through this full moon, Capricorn. I just want to clarify that third card for Capricorn, please. How's that impacting what we're seeing here, please? Firstly, we have the cross coming through here, Capricorn. So, you know, the weight of the world on your shoulders here, the weight of this 150% all on you, Capricorn. It's rather than burdening yourself and taking responsibility for 150%, you need to just have faith in yourself that if 150% is what I need to give, that I will be able to give that. And do you know what? If I only need to give 50%, that's all I need to give. Having a little bit more faith in yourself and trusting the universe a little bit more here, Capricorn, as well. And just trusting and having faith that this is all just part of, you know, destiny. Whatever this is going on for you in your life, this is all just how it's supposed to be. And this is all part of the lesson that is supposed to be coming up to the surface for you through this full moon, because it does specifically relate to some wishes here, specifically wishes from the past. We have the mice clarified by the feminine there as well. So we do see it's a sensation of, you know, like feeling as though all our wishes were lost to us, that they were taken from us, that, you know, we had that, you know, that we had so much faith that this wish was going to come true, but then it got taken from us and it's got stolen from us, that we missed out on that wish come true, which, you know, I kind of feel like having a little bit of faith here that we maybe didn't, Capricorn, that those wishes may still exist. But it's kind of looking to the past very strongly here with that mice energy, that, you know, was it really that your wish got taken from you, or was it more that you were putting too much burden into this wish, into this dream, having like the burden of hope was too great, that you were putting 150% into this wish coming true in a certain kind of way for yourself here, that you made it the impossible wish, that it could never come true in that manner, because, you know, even the stars don't have 150% to give. You know, so clarified by the feminine energy there as well. It's like, it does show us that you did give a lot, Capricorn, in the past here to try to make this wish come true. You did give a lot, not going to lie, but it was a very emotional, like I'm feeling as though you lost emotion, you lost hope, you lost your optimism that this wish could come true, because you're putting too much weight, too much burden on the wish itself, that you're seeking perfection in an imperfect world. You're seeking beyond perfection in a world that is never perfect. So it's bringing you back to ground a little bit here, making you realize that what you're hungering for, we need to keep those wishes a little bit more grounded and realistic, and not be putting, 150% into those dreams. That we need to actually give ourselves, set goals that are achievable, have a dream that is achievable. It's not, like, it's not unachievable, if that makes. It's like looking back into the past and the way that you've wished for things in the past, and then felt as though that wish was broken or shattered upon, it was never good enough for what you wished for. Why was it never good enough? Was it because that the initial wish was for too much? Were you asking too much, Capricorn? Expecting too much of others? I do feel for a lot of you it's got to do with, expecting too much from others, and expecting too much from yourself as well. That, coming back to ground a little bit and realizing that, nothing has 150% to give, Capricorn. It's if you give 50, you can expect 50. If you've only got 30 that day, you can expect the 70. If you've got 70, then you can expect the 30. You can expect the goal to be met if the goal is reasonable. You need to bring your expectations back to 100%. Stop asking for 150%, and looking through your past and the things that have really made you feel as though you've lost your, you've had a wish ripped out of your hands. Looking at the expectations that you had around that, and seeing the truth of why that didn't come into fruition in the way that you wanted it, Capricorn. I feel like for a lot of you, it's understanding that sometimes you are asking too much of others and of yourself, okay? So we're needing to just ground ourselves a little bit more this full moon. And, it's not a bad thing to, have high expectations and high wishes and, wish for the best, but it needs to also be realistic, okay? So that's what we have for you today, Capricorn. You're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to Aquarius. Okay, Aquarius. Shadow work message for our Aquarians. What does Aquarius need to know in regard to shadow work this month? Shadow work for Aquarius, please. The word Lord. The bookmaster. Okay, communication, praise, and dishonesty. So that's like referring to those little white lies that we tell. Like, does my butt look big in these jeans? Oh no, your butt looks great. Praise, the using our words in a, kind of want to say, don't take offense at the word manipulative, but it's the way that we use our wording, and that we're actually being dishonest because we're not portraying the truth of what we're trying to communicate, because we're not just being blunt. and, open book. Sometimes we need to just be blunt, rather than, twisting our words around to make something sound pretty. Because that's actually, it's coming through and letting you know here that you need to look at this as a shadow work message for, is this actually a form of dishonesty, Aquarius? That the more that we convolute what we're saying, the more that we're intentionally trying to confuse people by putting so many words in the phrasing, when we could just say, we don't have to. Using the example of, does my butt look big in these jeans? Yeah. So I'm kind of getting the energy here, Aquarius, of your, rather than saying, yes, let's try different. How about you don't even have to say yes or no. Okay. Instead of just being very upfront and open with what you want to say to this person, and say, how about we try a different pair? One quick little thing. Let's try this other pair instead. Let's try a different pair. You're not actually, saying, yeah, your butt looks horrible in those jeans. But what you're actually doing, Aquarius, and this is what it's asking you to look at, is rather than saying yes or no, rather than saying, let's try another pair, we're going on a monologue about, well, the blue is really an interesting shade of blue there. I really wonder why you do we think that particular shade of blue would be more complementary or less complementary, and the cut of that particular jean style is very interesting. I find that it, in a certain kind of way, it does flare out slightly around the butt area, and then we have the the thickness of that particular denim, and you're over elaborating things. You're being dishonest in, like, you're not intentionally being dishonest, of course, but the way that you're wording things and the way that you're using your intelligence to confuse and kind of manipulate the way that something could possibly be perceived is a form of dishonesty, because you ultimately, that the more that you trip someone up with all these fancy words and all this big spiel, that you've talked about 20 different things, and that this person is not going to get a yes or a no out of what you're saying. They're just going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to get these jeans then, because Aquarius is over there raving about denim was first made in this factory here, and Aquarius has gone off on a tangent. They're talking about themselves now because they're just talking. Sometimes we need to just be very blunt with our communication. So it's asking you to really look at that. And the way that you offer praise as well, especially the way that you're communicating praise. Are you monologuing and then making it somehow all about something else? Or are we just saying, geez, you look really pretty today. I think you look really pretty. Or are we, confusing that small amount of praise in something greater, a lot of other words around that the message is not being actually given. And for some of you, just needing to actually compliment people, just in general. Like, I feel like there's a few of you that you just don't compliment people at all. And it's noticed more than you realize. Aquarius, shadow work message for Aquarius, please. Shadow work message for Aquarius. Because I'm getting here too that you're probably someone who's very much like, if I don't have something nice to say, I'm just not going to say anything at all. And that in itself is a form of dishonesty. If someone's saying to you, because then there's a lack of communication at all, and it's kind of like you'd rather ghost somebody for a week than answer their question in an honest way and just be open and honest with them. You'd rather ghost them, and just that's a form of dishonesty to disservice more than anything, I suppose. But it is creating a lot of blockages for you. It really is just asking you to put in the work, I suppose, here. Just one more for Aquarius. Yeah, okay, so we have the moth, first of all. Okay, so we do see that it's time to transmute this energy, to transform, to evolve the way that we are doing this. We do also have here the snake and the mountain. Okay, so it's deception via creating such a big mountain of words that we're losing the point in amongst it all. It's too much hard work to get through the volume of intelligence and words that you've presented in the conversation. And you're doing yourself the biggest dishonesty here and the biggest disservice, because it's allowing people to see you as that see this about you as you're trying to cast an illusion rather than just putting in the hard work of being, well, it's not even work really to just be honest. You're putting in all this extra effort to create these blockages in being able to be understood. And it's a path. It's a path we're choosing here. We have the crossroads. So it's kind of like, do we want to actually, are you willing to actually choose to change the way that you're doing this, Aquarius? Are we actually willing to try things in a different kind of a way? Is this the path that you're going to follow forever? Because you're doing yourself the biggest disservice. I feel as though you're creating even more blockages between yourself and others, because you're creating this illusion, this giant mountain of words for people to get through to even get close to you. So is that the path that you want to follow, where everyone is kept at a distance, or do you actually want to transform and transmute that energy, learn from that, and be able to actually connect with others? And once again too, that praise, some of you needing to compliment others. Just, it's quite simple for some of you there, that needing to transform the way that you offer praise, and actually offering praise if you want to walk a different path to the path that you're currently on, because I feel like that's the reflection for you. This moment, this full moon, is the path that I'm currently on and the way that I currently interact with others. Does it allow closeness? Does it promote actually getting to know somebody? Does it promote somebody actually wanting to be with me? Or am I just, presenting as too much of a challenge, too difficult, when really I don't need to be like this? So that's actually a choice that I'm making, to be like this. So yeah, that's what we have for you today, Aquarius. You're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to our Pisces. Okay, moving on to Pisces. Pisces, what does Pisces need to know in regard to shadow work? Shadow work for our Pisces. The resting tree. Okay, patience and stillness. Interesting as a shadow work message. So What have you been sleeping on, Pisces? What have you been resting on and still, like, this is definitely referring to something that you're kind of hiding, ignoring, hiding from a little bit here. Try to push it to the back of your mind and not consciously deal with. Shadow work message for Pisces, please. Shadow work message for Pisces. And kind of being impatient with yourself as well. Like, patience is coming through there. And I am getting patience once again with the divine timing card coming through. So, the divine timing card does tell us that it's time to start facing some of this stuff, and that you have the power. You have it all within you. We have the bear coming through next. But, there is a lot of patience with oneself, being confident to know that, it's time to start facing these issues, but at the same time, you have all the time in the world, that things happen for a reason at the time they're supposed to happen. And now does seem to be the time that you do need to bring this up to the surface a little bit more within yourself, in order to, allow those sands to continue to fall, allow divine timing to work in your favor rather than putting a pause on it. Kind of thing. It's kind of like things are trying to come in for you, Pisces, but you're not allowing them. You've got your defensive mechanisms up a little bit high here, stopping things from occurring for you when they need to actually occur for you. So it's time to actually stop hiding from those things that you know deep down that you need to face those issues, and so that you can move through them a little bit more. So, that even if we're only doing that at a small little drip, at least we're moving forwards, but your defenses have been quite high about something, about actually facing the fullness of something. You've been kind of sleeping on it, putting it in the back of your head and the back of your heart, and I kind of get this energy, Pisces, where you're telling yourself that, well, I can't deal with that right now, but then at the same time you're like rushing yourself, like you're turning around and saying, oh well, I should have dealt with that by now, I should have healed from that by now, but you've also been pushing it away at the same time. It's time to let down those walls a little bit, Pisces, and be patient with yourself, that sometimes these things do take time, that you can't just go, okay, I'm going to face that issue now and bang, I'm healed. I've dealt with it. It doesn't always happen that way. So, you do need to just slowly let down those walls a little bit so that you can start moving forward in a healthy kind of way here. We do have the fish as well coming through here. So for some of you, it's kind of like, I am picking up that some of you have been using money as an excuse to put this on the back burner, that I can't do that because I don't have the money to do that. It's kind of giving me, where there's a will, there's a way, Pisces. And, sometimes we need to push forward with things, even if we don't feel as though we are in the right financial position for that particular thing in our life. Sometimes we do still need to start taking steps in that direction anyway. And then, trusting that, it will like, if it's supposed to happen, it will happen, and that, the money will show up at the right time for you, as long as you start moving towards that and let the boundary down, to enable that to happen and come in for you here. So it's kind of like asking you, what are you resting on? What are you pushing to the bottom of yourself and refusing to look at in a few different ways here? There's, for some of you, it may even be to do specifically with money issues, and, being patient with yourself, that, sometimes changing the way that we view materialism and whatnot. sometimes we need to be patient with ourselves that, it won't happen overnight, but it will happen, is something that's coming through there for you, Pisces. But that's what we have for you. You are more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to Aries. Okay, moving on to Aries. Aries, what does Aries need to know in regard to shadow work? Shadow work message for our Aries. Ooh, the Ice Queen, Aries. Like some of these cards are not, imagery is not picking up very well. Maybe it's my lighting. I have just changed lighting in this room, and it's for some reason it's just not quite right for what I like. And that does say ideas preserved, non-action, and entitlement. Ooh, Aries, this is a bit rough. Okay, so it's telling you you're preserving an idea. There's something where, you know what you need to or want to do about something, but you're not doing anything. You're not taking any action towards that thing. So it's like, I want this in my life, but I'm feeling entitled to just have that come and land in my lap. That sense of entitlement, that why should I be the one to do any work here? Why should I be the one who has to take action? So it's asking you to really look at that. It does feel like it's in regards to something specific for a lot of you here, Aries, because, the idea that's been preserved, you already know what you want from a situation, but you're not actually, and you even know how you could resolve that, but you're kind of not taking any action because you're telling yourself that you don't need to take any action, that everyone else or everything else needs to take the action for you. Clarify this message for Aries, please. Shadow work message for our Aries. It's like I'm just getting a little bit of fear coming through here that, even though we know exactly what we want, we're not taking steps towards it because we're afraid of, what happens if I don't get what I want. Well, you're not getting what you want by sitting back and doing nothing either, are you, Aries? So sorry if it's a bit confronting. What would you like to tell us exactly what this is in regard to for Aries, please? Could be a lot of things, to be honest. Get my hair stuck in things. So when I've asked exactly what this is, we have the octopus as well as the cross. So, the octopus tells us that, there's 8 different things that this could be here. So I'm not going to sit here and go through, 8 different things of what this could actually be. But, obviously it could be a lot of different things for I'm getting that with octopus that I'm getting some interesting messages coming through with that octopus, actually, that it's like dipping your hands into multiple pots, right? That you're not multitasking when you should be, but also that you're dipping your hands into different pots. So I am getting that that as an example here, that even though you have an idea about, for example, if you know what your dream job, and you know in your mind exactly what your dream job is, but you're sitting here going, oh well, I'm going to try this job, and then nah, that's not right. Then I'm going to try this job, nah, that's not right. But you already have an idea of exactly what you want. So why are you not going for that? You're wasting time, basically putting your little tentacles all over this other stuff. So it's the same as like if it's a person, you know exactly the person that you want, and you have this idea in your head of exactly who or what sort of person or even actual person that you want here, but you're focusing. So, oh, I'm just going to try this person. I'll try that person. No, they're not right. You know, I'm going to maybe I need this sort of a person in my life. No, that they're not right. But you already know what you need and what you want, but you're not going for that. You're too busy throwing your tentacles around all these other places. It's like you're not going for the true goal. You're not taking any action towards the true thing that you actually want here. It's like you're trying out other things to see if they might be the thing, but you already know what the thing is. So it's quite interesting energy here. And we do see the cross there as well. So it's like it's part of destiny, I suppose. You kind of already know that the thing is destined to be yours at some point. You already know that. So why are you putting those tentacles everywhere else when you know your destiny lays elsewhere? It's kind of a little bit confronting here, Aries. Firstly, we have the clover coming through. So it's asking you to take a bit of a risk, take those actions, you know, jump in the deep end, take that action, face your fears, and, you know, invest in yourself and in what you truly want. Start taking steps towards that. You know, take a chance on that. Actually, you know, I am picking up a lot of fear here, where you you do feel as though, for some of you, you feel as though you don't deserve that thing, even though you know that that's your thing and that's the thing that you truly desire, and you know that, you know, it's destined to be yours. You feel like you're not worthy enough for that, so you're just not investing in that at all, because you would rather, you know, try out all these other octopus hands elsewhere and hope that something sticks, rather than chase the dream kind of thing and take steps towards what you really want, because there's that fear of not getting it. We do see the fox coming through here, so we do see that's very similar to the octopus energy, in the sense that, you know, it's the player of the lenormand. So it's kind of, you know, you're trying to play the field. Whether, you know, I know that that's a very specific sort of to relationships terminology there, but it's kind of, even if it's a job, for example, you're playing the field. You're dipping your little hands into all these other things that you know aren't quite right for you, but it's because you're, you know, very independent kind of energy. It's that fear again. It's that I'm afraid that, you know, I can't have what I truly want, so I'm just gonna, you know, do what I need to do to survive right here, and see if I can find something that'll help me survive right now, even though I know deep down that, you know, this is me being a little bit, you know, obtuse, I suppose. It's because it's a very interesting energy, because it's I feel like the reason that you're not taking a chance and you're not investing in it is because it's hard for you to invest in yourself and overcome that fear that it will not work out the way you want it to. Um, so like investing in yourself is part of the struggle here, and there's something going on within you where it's easier to feel entitled, feel selfish, that everything should just fall into your lap. So I'm just going to, you know, put my tentacles out to all these other places until the right thing shows up for me, rather than you actually take steps towards it. Because then it's kind of like, well, if I don't try, I can't fail, is what you're kind of telling yourself. You've kind of chained yourself up in this way of being, It's you know, we have the chains there. You're kind of chained your self into this pattern a little bit here, where you're it's got to do with the entitlement coming through, that it should just fall in my lap. But we all know that that's not really how the world works. You have to, if you desire something, you have to take a leap of faith towards it. You have to take steps towards it. But there's just something about, you know, the way that you have been, you know, this is how you've survived in the past, but this is not how you survive in the future. You're not chained to that version of yourself that stopped yourself from chasing your dreams, Aries. It's time to take action and actually jump in the deep end. Even you know, face those fears and jump in the deep end. Even, you know, it's better to have tried and failed than to have never tried at all, is what it kind of wants you to know there. So that's what we have, because, you know, this is your destiny, Aries. I feel like if you just take those steps and just invest in this, it's yours already. It's in your energy as yours already. So you taking the action towards it, what's holding you back from taking the action? I suppose is a good thing to be looking at within yourself for your shadow work at the moment. All right, so that's what we have for you. You're more than welcome to check your other placements. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll move on to Taurus. Okay, Taurus, shadow work message for our Taurus. What does Taurus need to know in regard to shadow work? Taurus, what does Taurus need to know for their shadow work this month? The Arrow Master. Hitting the mark, intention and detachment. To be honest, that's not actually telling me that much as of yet. Taurus, clarify this shadow work message for Taurus, please. What is this shadow work message for Taurus this month? What does Taurus need to know for shadow work? Just one more to clarify that third card, please. Clarify that third card for Taurus. Interesting. Your message is really not talking to me today, Taurus. I don't know why. Can you please reword this message for Taurus? Please reword this message for Taurus. I think that maybe the reason this is not talking very much to me today, Taurus, is because your shadow work message may actually have to do with something that hasn't actually happened yet. Well, maybe part of it has happened, but not fully. When I've asked to reword that, we have the chains. Okay, so This is something that you have felt chained to, chained by. So the things that have been holding you back. You know, this full moon is about bringing to surface the things that have held you back. So I just feel like, you know, the conscious awareness hasn't hit yet of what this is. So this may not resonate immediately, Taurus. This may be one of those messages where you listen to the message and it doesn't make sense until next week. And then all of a sudden it goes click, 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 click and makes sense. So it's something that you're holding back. You're something that is holding you back, limiting you, chaining you to an ideal or a self-limiting belief. That was followed by the stork and then the ship. So it does tell us that, you know, whatever's getting stirred up during this full moon, it's like a brand new idea on how to move forward, how to break those chains and move forward. Both the stork and the ship move forward into new energy. So we're coming from the chains onto a brand new part of the journey for you here, where you're having a new perspective, a new idea on how to move forward, how to create distance between yourself and the thing that you've been self-limiting within your own self. So with that first spread I've got here, we've got the letter followed by the crossroad. So that does sort of show us that, you know, this maybe hasn't hit the path as of yet. You know, the communication is coming. It hasn't actually been brought to light as of yet, I feel, for a lot of you. And it's communicating with yourself about the path that you're on and where this path leads you long term. It's definitely got a long term energy here. We have the candle clarified by the cross. So this is like communicating with yourself and bringing to the surface, you know, the conscious choices that you're making to lead yourself to your heart's desire, to, you know, your destiny, basically, your, you know, to be able to have faith in yourself in a new kind of a way, to, you know, change the intention of where that path is taking you. You know, clearly coming to light and communicating with yourself about, you know, what truly makes you feel passionate and makes you feel, you know, the fire inside you that you have faith in, that is yours, that belongs to you, that, you know, whether it be, you know, as an example, a job, for example, that, you know, you've got this deep burning passion and desire within you, and it's kind of like communicating with yourself that, you know what, I really do want my path to meet that desire, to, you know, it's been burning within me and I've just been, you know, not allowing myself to even look at that. I've been choosing to hold myself back from that true deep down desire, from that destiny that I know is mine. And so it's about changing your intentions in a very conscious way, that, you know, if I want to start moving towards the things that I truly desire, I need to, you know, break free from these chains of limiting myself to thinking that I can only have XYZ in my life, and stop limiting myself, stop chaining myself to the small version of myself, and actually allow that flame to, you know, take root within me and burn with the light of 1,000 suns, and choosing to embrace this deep passion within yourself. You know, and then as soon as you let that arrow fly, you know deep down that it's going to hit the mark, and it's going to light that flame and bring it out to the surface. And you've been detaching from this because of this chain energy. You've been limiting yourself. So, in the example of a job, for example, like you're limiting yourself to, oh, this is the job that I'm good at, so I'm just going to stay in this job. But deep down, you know that you want your boss's job. And as soon as you consciously bring that to the surface and decide, that's it, I'm going to start taking steps towards having that, you notch that arrow, you let that arrow fly, you're not detached from that idea anymore, and then bang, on target, I want this, I'm going to have this, and all of a sudden we're moving forward. And we know exactly how to move forward because we've created new ideals within ourselves, new ideas, and to stir this up, to release those limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs for a lot of you are, I'm not worthy of that. I'm not good enough to do that. I'm not good enough to have that. So this full moon is actually going to be quite interesting. It's going to bring some things into the surface for you about things that you're telling yourself you don't want, that you actually do want, and you kind of already know that that's part of your your truth and your destiny. So quite interesting. And you're going to start, we have the flowers on the bottom there, you're going to start giving your time, your love, your energy to those things and the truth, rather than holding yourself back from the full extent of yourself anymore. Very interesting message, Taurus. So that's what we have for you. You're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe, and we will move on over to our Geminis. Okay, Gemini, shadow work message for our Geminis. Oh, the Ice Queen. We had this for Aries as well, Gemini. So if you do have a strong Aries placement, you may want to check that part of the reading out as well. That's about ideas being preserved, non-action, and entitlement. So it's kind of this idea of everything I want is just going to fall in my lap. I don't have to do anything about it. I have this perfect idea of what I want, but I'm not going to take any steps towards it. It's going to come to me. So you have this idea in your head of exactly what you want, and you know exactly what it is that you want, but you're not actually doing anything about that. So this is coming to the surface for you throughout this full moon a little bit here, and asking you, that entitlement is asking you, why do you feel like you do nothing? Why do you feel as though if this truly is, the idea of what you want, why are you not taking action toward it? We have the candle has flown on out there. So there's that idea preserved, that burning desire deep within you. Quite interesting here, because I am getting a bit of a deeper message coming through here. So there is that burning desire there. There is that thing that you truly desire and want, and it's like the thing that drives you, that the hope that you may one day have this as part of yourself. For some of you, this is a part of yourself. Like this is actually a version of yourself that you want to be. The next card we have is the tree. So that does talk about healing and self-growth and wisdom and things like that. So for some of you, this is a version of yourself, the healed version of yourself, so to speak, the grown, mature version of yourself, the wise, knowledgeable version of yourself that you just don't feel that you currently are. But, you want to be that. You do want to be that. And it's kind of like you feel like this passion and desire to be more, but then we see the void. So there's a shadow. There is a lot of shadow there, stopping you from taking action towards healing and being the version of yourself that you want to be. For some of you, I'm picking up too that that's a family tree, that you have a desire here for something to do with family tree, but then you get caught in the void, and it's like you feel as though you're at the bottom of this abyss, this black hole dragging you down, stopping you from taking any action. Keep telling yourself that if it's supposed to be, it will just show up on my doorstep. It'll just land in my lap. But this is asking you to bring that to the surface a little bit and understand that you actually do need to face your shadow a little bit more and actually take some action towards healing yourself. You're not just going to magically be healed one day. You're not just magically going to be wiser than your years all of a sudden. You know, you actually do need to claw your way up out of that abyss in order to get to the top of that and get out of that black hole. Sometimes you need to dig your claws in and put in the hard work to climb. On my Facebook, I actually put up a poem. I think it was for last month's shadow work, actually, about the abyss and about the struggle. And I feel like that's very relevant to what I'm seeing here for you, Gemini. So you may want to go and have a look on my Facebook page. The link is in the description. And read that poem. I feel as though a lot of you are going to identify very strongly with that. And in amongst it, it tells you what action to take to claw your way back through, you know, to just start moving towards what you truly desire here. And what you truly desire here is to be healed, to grow, to, you know, to be happy. I'm sensing for a lot of you, there's a lot of mental anguish and emotional anguish attached to all of this. And it's asking a lot of you this full moon, Gemini, to really start facing the shadows within and bring those to the surface so that you can break free from this cycle, break free from this black hole, this void that you've found yourself in when it comes to, especially for forward movement for a lot of you here, especially when it comes to understanding and moving towards your true desires. You know, deep down there's this candle that's trying to burn through that layer of ice within you, but you do need to put in a little bit of work here and take a little bit of action and don't let it burn out. You know, keep clawing your way up. I am getting, you know, some issues here around, you know, like I said, emotional and mental anguish and depression and some of you do need to seek a professional for some of this as well. All right, I never want anyone to attempt shadow work when you're not in the right mental space to do so. It's never, sometimes it's not the easiest thing, but it does feel as though this full moon is bringing some stuff up for you, asking you to explore the depths of your shadows and the inner world, you know, and so that you can release those old patterns. But you do need to remember to stay grounded in your values and in this eternal flame within you for what you truly desire out of life and what you truly desire and out of yourself, and hold strong onto that value, you know, and enabling yourself to, you know, turn all this emotional turmoil into the wisdom that you're seeking. Okay, exchanging limiting beliefs into lessons for yourself here. So quite heavy energy for you, this full moon, Gemini. Like I said, if you're not capable of doing that shadow work right now, that is fine. All right, but for some of you, there is, you know, a level of delving here that you're not accustomed to. And I do just want to add, like, there is a couple of you that are ready to fully immerse yourself in the shadow work. You know I do the readings that generally come through with, you know, advice and topics for you to look at, but I am feeling drawn to, you know, tell you to, if you do feel ready for that challenge of looking within, because it does feel like you've got a fair bit of shadow work that you do need to face. Just Google shadow work questions, all right, and there's a lot of resources available that you can actually you know, question yourself and find out what those core beliefs are that need evaluating and changing and whatnot. But take it easy on yourself in the same time. This is a process. It's a healing in itself. Okay, so go easy on yourself, Gemini. All right, so that's what I've got for you. You are more than welcome to check out your other placements as well. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to our Leos. Okay, also, no, I've jumped ahead there, haven't I? Would help if I can read. So we will move over to Cancer. Cancer. Shadow work energy for Cancer. Shadow work energy for Cancer. Sacred union. Partnership and romance. Okay, Cancer. So looking at love for you with shadow work at the moment. When we are looking at love and union and partnership issues when it comes to shadow work, quite often it lets us know that there's something about love that we're afraid of, that we're unhealed from, that, you know, quite often a theme I see is that we have the experience of love is pain, love is hurt, love equals loss. And that's why we're needing to broach the topic of partnership and what it means to be a partner, what it means to have romance in your life, what love means to you. Shadow work message for Cancer, please. Why are you afraid of commitment, I want to say, for some of you there, Cancer. Why is commitment so scary? Why is union scary? Just one more for Cancer, please, when it comes to shadow work. It's giving me some very straightforward messages here. Yours is, I feel like it's going to be a relatively short reading today, because, like I said, I've already sort of said, yes, this is looking at love. This is looking at, you know, what you understand romance to be, what you understand union to be for yourself. I'm getting some very straightforward messages coming through from the cards I'm seeing here. Firstly, we have the Beetle, which is the card of teamwork. Okay, so it is saying, it's actually repeating the message to me. It's saying teamwork makes the dream work. Teamwork makes the dream work. So it's kind of asking you, why are we scared of partnership when everyone, like, support, you know, support. We all need support. Why are you afraid? Is it afraid? I don't know. I'm getting a lot of anger as well. It's not really explaining the anger to me, but it's kind of like feeling a lot of independence. Like you feel a lot of independence. Like, I have to do everything by myself. I can't rely on anyone to help me. I don't have a team. And you need to sort of question why the way that you're thinking about that, you're actually enabling this thought process of, I will never have a team. So not having a current support network does not mean that you will never have a support network, Cancer. You need to question yourself a little bit about that way of thinking. Why? Because you're kind of enforcing that. You're kind of telling people no, because the beetle has this big tough exterior, right? This hard shell. And that's all you're showing people, is this hard shell, this hard exterior. I can do it by myself. I'm going to do it by myself. Everyone thinks that you can do it by yourself, but you're not showing those little fragile wings that do need the protection and the support and the teamwork, that a partnership could actually be very beneficial to you. We have the city. I am getting the phrase, you're not going to like this, Cancer, but I am getting the phrase, they're for the streets. That they're for the streets, because you're not letting anyone crack through that hard exterior. You're keeping everybody at a distance. All right. So that's what, sometimes this is what the city is about. It's like there's so many people around you, but nobody that's actually close to you. This is like, you've got this potential gigantic network around you, but you're choosing to be independent and stray cat energy here. That as soon as anyone tries to come too close to you, you're running off. You're like a city alley cat, that you're not wanting people to come close to you, and then you're actually sort of sitting there at the end of your alley going, well, why don't I have a family? Why don't I have a support network? And then someone comes towards you and goes, oh, I want to be your family, little kitty cat. And you're like, run off. You hiss and run off. So you need to understand, I feel for a lot of you need to understand that you're putting it out there that that's what you want. You want to be independent, that you want to be alone. That's the energy that you're putting. Energy works on an attraction level, and that's what you're attracting to yourself. You're attracting for the streets energy. You're attracting independent energy. You're attracting, I've got this hard exterior. I don't have any softness that needs to be supported or anything like that. I don't need to be a team. I'm going to do everything all by myself. I'm going to do it all by myself and look after myself. Whereas deep down, you want a home. You want a home. We have the house here. You want the stability, and you want the security, and you want the intimacy. You want the home, the feeling of home. The feeling with somebody else. This person is my home. This person is my safety zone. You want that. So why are you hissing and running away from that every time it's offered to you? Because the more that you're hissing at it and running away from it, the more that's what you're telling the universe, that that's what you want. But it's not. So it's time to start sort of telling the universe, this is what I want. I'm going to actually, instead of hissing and running, I'm going to, maybe I'll slowly approach. Maybe I'll let that person just, pat me. And I'll slowly let myself warm up to them. Maybe I will actually try to be a team and work as a team with someone or something, just to see how it goes. I'm not going to invest too much in it. I'm ready to run at a given notice, at moment's notice, but just to see how it goes. Because ultimately I want that warm fireplace to curl up in front of. I want that person that's going to give me pats and head scritches. Maybe love isn't what I've been telling myself that it is. And it's not necessarily telling yourself either. I feel for a lot of you, it's just the wanting you to look at the fact of how what you're telling the universe you want when it comes to love and partnership, because it's not in line with what you actually want. The version of love that you're presenting, the version of yourself that you're presenting to the world, like attracts like. You're not going to attract love if you're being hardened exterior and running away, hissing and running away. That does not attract love. Like if you want to attract love, you need to exude love a little bit more. All right, so that's what we've got for you. You're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course, Cancer. But we will move on over to our Leos. Okay, Leo, what's going on for our Leos? What does Leo need to know for shadow work this month? Ooh, the Fire Prince. Digging deep into that fire energy of yours, Leo. This is about optimism and aggression. Okay, so it's kind of asking you to question yourself on why you're not being optimistic about certain things, and why you're not actually aggressively pursuing things. Very interesting. Why you not stoking the flames of that Leo fire kind of energy, that you've got a lot of passion and desire for more than what you're currently allowing yourself. It's asking you to embrace the shadow of aggression. That aggression is not necessarily a bad thing in this light. Okay, aggression in a physical aggression sense, bad. We're not supporting that, but we're supporting the aggressively supporting yourself, aggressively chasing your dreams, aggressively, it comes from passion. Aggression is a form of passion. Okay, and I've got so much passion for something, I need to release that. That fiery nature of yours, Leo. Shadow work message for our Leos. That you're not putting your full flame into it. Why are you holding back? Time to transform. We have the moth coming through first here, so it does show us that you have a lot more potential than you allow yourself to believe here, that you are transforming into the version of yourself that is going to bring you what you need. All right, so it's about chasing the wind is coming through as a phrase there. Chasing the breeze, chasing the wind, in the sense that, allowing yourself the freedom of your expression and allowing yourself to take flight, rather than hold yourself back and be like, oh, I'm just a little caterpillar stuck on the ground. You're holding yourself back, but you know that you're no longer that caterpillar. So why are you holding yourself so tightly to the ground kind of energy? Why are you not allowing yourself to fly like you truly deserve? We have the city here as well, which I am feeling as though that's just a lot of overthinking on your end here, Leo. That you're kind of overthinking a lot of things, right? You're getting trapped in the maze, I suppose, of thinking things through rather than just doing and just aggressively pursuing. You're trying to, plan out the whole city worth of stuff without actually just getting into it and getting into the nitty gritty of it. We do see the snake coming through as well, which is once again that passion, that desire, and stop allowing yourself to live in this illusion of I have to have everything mapped out. I have to I'm so busy, busy, busy. I don't have time to, fly. You're holding yourself back a little bit here, Leo. You know that there's this deep burning passion within you, but you're kind of betraying yourself by allowing yourself to get caught up in the maze and the rat race and the ground level stuff. It's time to, fly free and embrace the fire within. Any extra clarity for Leo on this shadow work message, please? We have the fish coming through there as well. So for a lot of you, this has got to do with, pardon? This has got to do with what makes you feel abundant and wealthy in this world. It does talk about the material world quite heavily here. So for some of you, these are material pursuits that you are choosing to not chase. So I do feel for a lot of you, this has got to do with things like work and business and things like that. And not allowing yourself to fully express yourself in the material world. You're holding back a lot in the material world and not chasing the full things that make you feel, abundant and full. So you're holding back a lot there. It's time to aggressively pursue the life that you desire. Pretty straightforward message, Leo, but that's what we have for you today. I do feel as though this full moon, it will bring to light, those things that you truly are passionate about, and it's time to sort of stoke the flames of that passion and allow it to take hold, rather than trying to overthink it or plan it out, or it's time to just it's a very action orientated energy. All right, but you're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and we will move on over to our Virgos. Okay, so Virgo, what does Virgo need to know in regard to shadow work? Shadow work messages for our Virgos. Oh, the Diamond Dreamer. Okay, so that's all about material wealth versus true prosperity. All right, so definitely a little bit of shadow work here in regard to distinguishing between material wealth and true prosperity here, Virgo. Why are you holding yourself to such high material ideals? Why are you chasing the material when that is not actually what is going to fulfill you in this world? True prosperity means a lot more than just money. What makes you feel prosperous? What makes you feel fulfilled within your own life and self? And why is it money, basically, Virgo? You're very, very caught up in the material pursuits, the material world. You're forgetting about emotion and energy and your spirituality. Virgo, shadow work message for our Virgos, please. I'm just hearing here as an activity the need to actually sit with yourself and ask yourself, where do I want to be on a spiritual level? Where do I want to be on an emotional level? And actually just get in touch with those sides of yourself, because your shadow work message is definitely showing a bit of angst here. On the bottom of the deck, we've got the feminine followed by the rider, followed by the chains. All right, so it's time for you to start moving towards the feminine energy, the nurturing, the emotional side of yourself, in order to break these chains that you have put, these self-limiting beliefs that you have put on yourself. Okay, they're coming through as the whip here: trouble, tension, drama, getting very caught up in the reality of life, the drama, the tension, the overthinking things, the even possibly some actual getting caught up in the he said, she said, rather than the it made me feel like, it makes me feel, rather than the feelings underneath everything, rather than the lessons on an emotional, spiritual level. You're getting very caught up in the he said, she said sides of drama at the moment. And it's causing you even more tension, more drama in the long run here. But we're seeing you here as the goat, okay, Virgo. So a lot of stubbornness coming through on your end here, and it's kind of like I'm so stubborn. I refuse to get out of this fox energy. I refuse to get out of my head because it's a fight within your own self, and it's a self-limiting belief, okay, that I have to be this way, that I have to fight against everything, that I have to be so stubbornly independent, and I have to be so stubbornly looking out for my own survival first and foremost, that I don't have time to be emotional about anything. And I'm just getting a strong message here of, it's always a fight. Everything is always a fight for you here, Virgo, and you feel that you have to fight for everything in this life. And that may have been true at one point, and that's coming from a very limited way of thinking. This is only taking material into consideration. This is not taking, the esoteric, the spiritual side of yourself into consideration. The fox, I have the fox tattooed as one of my tattoos. I have the heart, the fox, and the bear. Okay, and so they make up the three parts of ourselves. Heart, mind, and soul. So the fox is mind, the mind. All right, so the brain, the reality, the logical stuff, and that's what you're getting stuck in, the material world. Where's the soul connection? Where's the heart connection in amongst all that? So it's asking you to really face this self-limiting belief within yourself that you have to be living in a rational mindset all the time, living in the material world all the time, that you have to be fighting against everything all the time, and start looking at things with love and spiritual stuff. Okay, so the heart and the spiritual are wanting to be seen, because that's what you're avoiding, I suppose, here. And true prosperity comes from a combination of all three. It's not just making your head happy, it's making your heart and your soul happy as well. And that's what gives true enlightenment and prosperity in this world. So it's time for you to sort of look at that and look at the way that you're trapping yourself, in the material world, and what I have to do on a material level, like, the day-to-day mundane, the work, the career, I have to have this, I have to have that to make myself be seen in this world. But what about the heart stuff and the soul stuff that, asking yourself why you place them as less important than, money and things, I suppose, what you have to show, rather than what you are. Interesting. Okay, so that's what we have for you, Virgo. Relatively straightforward for you today, but that's what we have. You're more than welcome to check out your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and we will move on to our Libra. Okay, Libra, last but not least today. Libra, what does Libra need to know in regard to shadow work? Shadow work messages for our Libra. The map maker of destiny. Ooh. Authentic purpose, inspiration, and free will. Libra. Okay, so this is actually kind of asking you to look at the part of yourself that struggles to do it on the fly, to just go with the flow. All right, because this is like your the map maker of destiny, that you have to have a plan, that you're living your life by a plan, to a plan, that you are, that you're telling yourself, okay, I've got to go from A to B, and this is the only road I can go to get there. What happens when something happens out of nowhere? It throws you out. And what happens if all of a sudden you see something else you want and you go, oh, I want that. Oh, nope, that's not in my plan. I can't have that. Why not? Why not, Libra? It's asking you to be a little bit more free, like understand that not everything needs to be under your control. Not everything can be under your control, especially once we do take other people's free will into consideration there as well. And also knowing that, it's all good and well to have a plan for your life. A guideline, I suppose, is a much better way to think of that rather than a set map. You're kind of like, this is the map of my life. We cannot go around these bounds. This is how it's got to be. This is set boundaries. This is, we're not going to change those. You're very rigid with the structure that you're setting for yourself, and you're not allowing other people's free will to come into the play here. You're not allowing inspiration to take hold, or authenticness to take hold here. So if something comes out of nowhere and it's not on your map, it doesn't exist to you, which, you're denying yourself a whole extra layer of life for yourself here. You're, so it's asking you to be a little bit more open and going with the flow a little bit more, and asking yourself, why do I feel like everything has to be so strict, just strict? Why does it all have to be such strict plan? If something, because it's kind of like that energy of like, for an example here, if you're a single Libra who's looking to date, you've got this idea in your head of this person needs to be this, and then you meet somebody who is 90% of those things that you want, but they're not the other two things, and so you go, no, not good enough, don't want them, and then you turn around and go, well, why is the universe not giving me the person I want? Because you're being very non-negotiable. You are being very non-negotiable, and you need to learn to compromise a little bit more and go with the flow a little bit more. Just because somebody doesn't have those two things doesn't mean that they can't eventually. Maybe they're never going to have those things until they're in a relationship with you, Libra, and that's when those two things come to light within this person, and they become those things just naturally. Maybe going with the flow gives you 100% what you want, but because you're saying, oh no, that 90%, no, that's not what I want. So no, it doesn't fit the plan. It's not good enough. You're not compromising. You're not showing any compromise here. Libra, shadow work message for Libra, please. For a lot of you, this is to do with love as well. Just clarify that first card for Libra, please. Just clarify why we're seeing that first card for Libra. It's so funny, that second card. I just want to show you that the second card is the rose here. Every time that card comes out, I don't know why, but I get a strong burst of rose scent in the air every time I see that card. So for a lot of you, it does have to do with romantic stuff, especially when it's backed up with that scent as well. It does really embrace the floral, romantic, sweet notes. The first card, though, that we have here is the Void. Okay, we see the black hole coming for you here, Libra. And this is, I kind of feel as though this is referring to your very rigid structure, that everything outside the structure, everything outside your map, you've listed as a black hole. And in order to stay away from that black hole, I have to stay on plan. I can't, there's no wiggle room even. That's clarified by the cat energy here. So it does show a very independent kind of taking control kind of energy here, because I feel as though it's like there's this part of you, Libra, that feels as though if everything doesn't stick to my plan, I am going to fall into the abyss. I'm going to fall into the black hole. So this is the only way I know. I have to balance myself very carefully on my map, like a cat walking across a wall. I can't fall, because then I will land in the black hole and I will never be able to get myself back out, which is, a whole nother story, but we're not talking about that right now. But I dare say quite a lot of you, this is to the point where you actually are developing severe anxieties about being pulled off course, and not being able to go with the flow a bit here. It's really setting off anxiety, which is, leaning you towards emotional anguish, and to the point where we could actually be seeing issues like anxiety and depression, if things suddenly throw you off that course. So this is kind of coming through as a little bit of a preventative measure for you to face this shadow, and to embrace a little bit more free flow energy into your life now, before it comes too late, kind of thing. Because you're actually you're creating this black hole around your plan, where they're because you're telling yourself it exists, that's starting to exist. It's kind of like you're manifesting this black hole into existence, just waiting for something to throw you off course and throw you into the bottom of that pit. So it's kind of coming through as a bit of a warning here that you do need to face this shadow, and stop being so, if something doesn't fit into my plan, I'm going to hiss and I'm going to run away from that, because there's a lot of fear surrounds you when it comes to all of this. So once again, it's coming through like a bit of a warning here. We do also see that rose energy, like I said. So it's asking you to just embrace the passion and the light within you, because you can see that. Look at those two cards. From a distance, they look virtually the same. Yeah, they're both just blackness, darkness. When you look closely, then you see the rose. You can still see, the imagery on the black, on the void as well. There is still stuff there. But the rose energy here, it's like needing to peel back those layers of oneself to get to the sweetness in the center here. For a lot of you, this is in regard specifically to romantic pursuits and, romance in general, trying to keep that inner desire, and on romance, it's not necessarily even love romance. It's like the romantic part of life that, in romantic movies, for example, sometimes things don't happen to plan, and in fact, that those plot twists are usually the best part of the story that leads to the best stuff happening. Those random chance encounters, you know, the lack of plan sometimes are the things that lead to the most romantic moments. So it's wanting you to be reminded that, you've got to stop and smell the flowers a little bit here, and just embrace what you've got. And that sometimes it's okay to stop and smell the flowers, even if that's not on your plan. Stop and smell the flowers, because otherwise you're going to miss out on all the beauty of life. It's time to transform. We have the moth here. It's time to set yourself free, because once you set yourself free and you transform this energy, the moth doesn't get trapped in the black hole. The moth is attracted to the light, and it can always find its way out of that black hole. Allowing inspiration to actually take you on a tangent, to understand that, you know what, your authentic purpose in this world may not fit that plan that you had written. Because you know what? Life changes. So do we. Enable it. Allow it. I feel like for a lot of you you might have come up with this plan of how your life should be years ago. It may not be right for you anymore. It may be time to make a change, to let something new in, to go off course and just explore the world a little bit, to stop and smell those flowers and just take in the beauty around you and take in the beauty of what life can offer you, if only you allow it to, take you down a different path than the one that you walk every single day. So being a little bit more open to change and going with the flow a little bit more, not feeling as though you have to plan every little detail down to the last, dot. Spread those wings and try something new, Libra. All right, so that's what we have for you this month. You're more than welcome to check your other placements, of course. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all again soon.